Hi, I know it's been a minute, but I'm here, and today we are going to set an intention to get unstuck, and we are going to be talking about comfort zones and how to get out of them. But before we do that, I'm going to need your help. So whatever you're doing, wherever you are, if you're driving, don't stop driving, of course. And if you're doing anything like serious, please keep doing that. But what I want is for you to repeat the self-affirmation with me. So close your eyes if you can and repeat. I am ready to take action. My goals and dreams are within my reach. I welcome abundance and prosperity into my life. I am ready to thrive. That was so good. I love me a good self-affirmation. I don't know about you, but whenever I say them, it just makes me feel so, I guess, like fuzzy inside. Is that kind of weird? I don't know. But I just want to take action. I want to get started and I want to be productive. Like, that's just me. So maybe it can help you too. So as I mentioned, today we are going to be talking about comfort zones. And I first want to start off by defining what a comfort zone is and then explaining how you can get out of it. So if you are in a comfort zone, you are in a mental and psychological state of ease. What this means is that there is no fear, there is no challenge, there is no incentive to start anything new or even to develop a new learning process. You have no incentive to get out there, to read the book, to take the course, because everything is familiar as you feel safe. Thinking of this on a very surface level, being in a comfort zone is pretty chill, if I do say so myself, because when you're in a comfort zone, there are very low levels of stress. You're not taking much risk. It's like kind of in the stock market when you invest in something that you know is going to get you money in the long run, right? But it's different because although your comfort zone is a place of mental security, and although it's a place where you're basically chilling, it's a very dangerous place to stay in. Because when you stay in this place, you unknowingly are choosing to settle. You plateau. You kind of just stay here. You're not moving up. You're not getting better. You're not learning. You're not growing. And most importantly, you're not becoming the person that you want to be. And I will say that there are times in our lives when we will be in our comfort zones. And I want to share a story. I can vividly remember when COVID happened and everything kind of went on lockdown and I was stuck in my house and there really wasn't much of anything for me to do. And I remember developing this routine. Like, I went from posting content almost 2 times a week, I think it was 2 times a week, to reading, to learning, to practicing Spanish, to going out there and networking and meeting new people and going to events. And then all of a sudden, that routine had to completely change because obviously there was a pandemic and there was only so much that I could do. So I remember I went from wanting to excel to just wanting to do the bare minimum. So what I was doing instead, I was staying home, of course. I was waking up at probably 11, 12 o'clock. I was binging on Netflix. Criminal Minds and Money Heist were the jams during that time. But because everything was remote and virtual, I convinced myself that because the world took a break, I could take a break. But that break lasted for a solid, I would say 11, 12 months. So almost a year. So for almost a year, I was doing the bare minimum. I was literally waking up at whatever time I wanted to, staying up late whenever I wanted to. And I'm not saying that these things are bad. I'm not saying that these things are like signs or factors that you're in your comfort zone. But what I am saying is that when you are in a comfort zone, you're stuck in a routine that is comfortable to you. So doing something out of the ordinary, like reading a book or practicing some meditation, journaling, doing yoga, something that you know is good for you, but you won't do because right now you feel safe, right now you feel secure, so why would you want to get out of that? And in a sense, comparing it to like an analogy, it's like when you go to a restaurant and you only choose to get the thing that you know that you're gonna like and you don't want to try something else. So I don't know if that was a bad analogy, but it's like you're consistently sticking to the same things all the time, which means you're not growing. So to put it plainly and simply, during this time in my life, I fell prey to procrastinating. I fell prey to social media. I was literally a TikTok addict. I was always like scrolling mindlessly. And if you guys know, and I'm sure you guys know, there's only so much of social media that you can be on before it's like, okay, I need to get out of here. But even when I was at that point where I was like, okay, I need to stop, I physically could not stop. Like I still kept scrolling because in my head, I'm like, there's nothing else for me to do. And this is what I've been doing the entire time. So why else would I change it? So that's what I was doing. And in that space, for me, it was the bare minimum. And it took me several months to realize that I was in this position. Because even though I was barely doing anything, like I mentioned, it was just social media, Netflix, sleeping in, eating, and then school. But school was remote, so there wasn't really much, like for me personally, there really wasn't much anything to it. But I felt so lethargic all the time. I felt lazy. I didn't feel like myself. Like it was just a terrible feeling because I felt like instead of going uphill, I was going downhill. I was not only plateauing, but I felt like my mental health was getting worse. I felt like my self-esteem was getting bad because I wasn't taking care of myself. So I realized that the reason why I was feeling like this was because I wasn't doing anything to help me grow. And in order to grow in any capacity, there needs to be a challenge. There needs to be a risk. There needs to be something for you to put in time and energy. And if you continue to settle, if you continue to operate in your comfort zone, you're not going to be where you want to be. And the reason why that is because you're always going to choose the easy route, which means you're going to always let opportunities escape. So, how do you know when you are in a comfort zone? And most importantly, how can you get out of that? Well, you find yourself making up excuses all the time. You find yourself stuck in the same routine where you're unwilling to learn, grow, and try new things. You're scared of what other people will think about you. These are all signs that you are stuck in a comfort zone and you're allowing fear to control your life. I also want to note, I don't know what just happened to my voice. That's some good coffee. Okay, as I just mentioned, there are different dimensions to comfort. There is a social dimension, meaning that you are stuck in the same circle and group of friends. You're not expanding your network. You're not trying to meet different people. You're stuck with who you know, and who you know is basically all you know in a sense, because you are who you hang out with. You are who you spend the most time around. So if you're staying around the same people all the time, then in a sense, you're stuck in a comfort zone because you think, these are my people, these are my safe zones. And yes, I'm not saying it's wrong to have the same group of friends, but what I'm saying is that when you consistently just stick to this group and you're not trying to learn, to see things from a different perspective, to learn from someone else's point of view, then you are in a social comfort zone. So just be aware of that, and just that's something to think about. There's also an emotional dimension to comfort where you're stuck in the same patterns of reacting in the same way every single time. You're not willing to change your tone of voice. You're not willing to listen to the other person's perspective. You're not willing to communicate in a way that is healthier and more feasible and more able to help you resolve conflict easily. There's also a physical dimension of comfort where you're choosing not to make the time to exercise, where even though you feel lethargic and sluggish and tired and down all the time, and you know that maybe some exercise will help, you're not doing it because once again, you're stuck in the same routine where you're comfortable where you're at. And there's also many different dimensions of comfort. And if you're interested, I would highly recommend to look up comfort zone and different dimensions. But those are the ones that I noticed within myself specifically. Me needing to expand my social circle, me needing to change my emotional reactions to things, and also to be more aware of how my emotions are when I'm upset, and to not stay stuck in these same routines and patterns because, and it's hard, honestly. It's hard to say, okay, I need to change this and then make the effort to change. But if you don't change, if you continue to stay there, once again, I keep saying this, you're not going to grow, you're not going to learn, and you're not going to become the person that you want to be. So once you've identified where your comfort zones are in, is it in the social dimension? Do you need to expand your circle? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it mental? Do you need to start learning something new? Maybe learning a new language, maybe learning a new software, maybe, I don't know, reading a book. When you figure out where you are stuck, where you're in the same routine, where you're basically comfortable, the question now is, how can you start challenging yourself to develop your potential? Well, what I do, and maybe this can help you too, is to start small. Start off with low risk experiments and then work your way up. So what I mean by this is, let's say you are in a physical comfort zone, meaning that you know that you need to exercise, you know that you need to get out there and maybe go for a walk. Well, start off small and then gradually work your way up. The key is not to say, okay, I'm comfortable, let me go and run a marathon next week. No, the key is to make sustainable change, and sustainable change starts small. So maybe you start off by walking 10 minutes a day. Next week, maybe you do 15. Next month, maybe you do 30. Remember, change is based on your own process. Change is based ultimately up to you and how you want to grow. There's no right or wrong. There's no time limit unless you're putting a time limit on yourself. But change happens when you decide that you want something different and you start making the small steps to get there. You don't have to make huge steps at all. When it comes to me, something that I've had to work on and I'm still working on consistently is my emotional reactions to things. So instead of speaking angrily or speaking in haste or even like reacting in a way that makes the other person not want to listen to what I have to say, I've had to consciously, and it's been very difficult, but make the effort to change my tone, to change my perspective, to actively listen instead of trying to immediately respond to someone. Because communication goes both ways. There's a sender, a receiver, and both people need to be present, aware, and listening. So that's something that I've personally had to work on. And I would say, once again, start small. It doesn't have to be this big leap. You're not moving mountains. You're slowly starting to make change within yourself, and this is how you ultimately become the person you want to be. So that is my spiel for today. I know it's been a while since I've been on here. Thank you so much for listening. If you've made it all the way through, I really appreciate it. If you guys don't know, I did start a podcast called Start Inward, and I actually have that episode uploaded. This video is more of like me just talking, just being real with you guys and letting you know what I think. But if you could, I would really appreciate if you could check out the podcast. Let me know what you think, leave a comment, rating, and review. And also, if there is a topic that you want me to talk about, hey, shoot it in the comments and I definitely will. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you learned something. And most importantly, I hope you have a great rest of your day and you continue to grow, continue to learn, and get out of your comfort zone. That's the message for today. So yeah, Thanks. Have a great day, guys. Bye.